Lacretta, congrats on this. I mean, this
Thank you.
deal. I mean, you have a pretty extensive resume, but Night Court, of course, and of course, shout out to Marsha Warfield. She, of course, was Roz in the original Night Court back in the
Yeah.
day. But just how are you feeling? You're on the grind, you're working hard, and you land this the reboot of this iconic series. Just how are you feeling in this moment?
Overwhelmed. I think we shot this over the course of like 6 to 7 months. And at that time, I was like, okay, well, hurry up and tell us when it's going to air. And they told us when it was going to air. And I was like, okay. And then as the weeks went by and we got closer and closer and closer to the 17th, I think I kind of just dug my heels in the ground because we had done so much work to get to that point. I had done so much work in my career to get to this point, and then it was here. It was happening. So I kind of retreated into myself. I didn't stream. I didn't really hang out with anybody. Just I guess to kind of brace myself for what it was going to be. I knew what I had seen and what I liked, but I'm biased because I'm a part of the show. And of course, it's the best show on TV because we're in it. But once it finally aired and I got to watch my friends watch the show, then I could relax because just to watch them laugh and take it all in. And even my friends who are very talkative people were quiet during the episode. So I was like, okay, we got something. And then the next day to see the ratings, I mean, we were over the moon. NBC hadn't had that kind of turnout for a comedic premiere in 5 years, since 2018.
Wow.
So I think we did something pretty special.
And it's also streaming on Peacock. If y'all have Peacock, you can watch it on there as well. But
Yes.
I do have to ask you because I just mentioned her, but the
Hmm.
icon, the legend, Marsha Warfield. I know she gave her blessing for the show on TikTok, which is
Yeah.
really amazing. Have you heard from her? Have you had any kind of engagement with her?
For as much of an extrovert as I am, I can be incredibly shy. So when she did make that beautiful post, I saw it on Instagram because I don't have TikTok. Of course, I started crying, and I have been crying for the past like 3 days.
Yeah.
But to see that and to see how graciously she wished us well, and the way that John would talk about her on set, that was the icing on the cake. To know that she was in support of us, that was nice. So I did comment on the post. She did not reply, and that's okay because she's a busy woman. She's got her
Yeah, she
comedy, her stand-up comedy. She was at the Comedy Cellar at that time. So and I think I don't know if I would be able to take it if she did reply anyway. So, but she did like the comment. So there is that.
I will never forget an episode of Night Court where her character had diabetes. And it was
Hmm.
my
Hmm.
first time seeing diabetes being talked about in like a sitcom format. And I never forgot that performance. She was crying and everything. And just, yeah,
Hmm.
shout out to the legend, Marsha Warfield. But tell me about
Absolutely.
your character, Gergs, in Night Court.
She's your good time girl. She just wants everyone to be comfortable, to be happy, to have a good time. She loves her coworkers fiercely, but she is also the law. She is the law and order in the courtroom. But she answers, her heart is on her sleeve, basically. And so she gets to live in the moment and respond to everything the way that we wish that we could, the way that I wish that I could, but that I have to kind of filter so that society doesn't label me as certain things, if you catch my meaning. So
I catch it.
she's definitely a free spirit.
So, for folks who may not know, I would say this is your big break. Is that fair to say? This is the
That's fair to say. I say that.
been working for a long time, but for folks who may not know, tell us a little bit about your journey getting to where you are in this moment, where you came from, and how you got here.
Well, I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri.
All right.
I got my start acting at the Coterie Theater. At first, I was a part of their playwrights roundtable because I was like, I'm going to be an amazing playwright. I'm going to write these plays and I'm going to sit back and watch everyone do my stuff. And we would read each other's plays back. And that was my time to kind of shine. And the facilitator of that roundtable was like, Lacretta, you should really audition. And I was like, no, I'm going to be a playwright. And he was like, you should really audition. So I did. And so that I started acting at, or getting paid to act at 14. And then I went off to college. I went off to grad school. I moved to New York right after grad school. I thought that I was going to be an opera singer at that time. And I just kind of met people who put me into musical theater things there. I got my card at Flat Rock Playhouse. I did Disney Cruise Lines. I did a lot of off Broadway things. I did a lot of workshops of new works. And then I started kind of dabbling in film. I did, let's see, Law and Order SVU, Broad City, 30 Rock, the list goes on and on. I did a couple of pilots that didn't get picked up, a pilot that did get picked up and then got dropped. And then, third time's a charm. So here we are with Night Court.
And you were also in Second Act with that
Yeah.
star Jennifer Lopez, right?
Yes.
So I'm just thinking about the journey. So I'm sure that's a big deal when you're auditioning and you find out you make it into a Jennifer Lopez film. What was your experience with that?
It was amazing. It was amazing. We shot from like October to December. I was in 9 scenes. And it's interesting because right before that, I had made my Broadway debut in Disaster. I had 1 costume. I book Second Act. I go in for a fitting thinking, oh, I'll be in here about 15 minutes. There were racks on it. Was like a small boutique store. And
Mhm.
all of these costumes were for me. And then on the wall, there was necklaces and earrings. And along this wall, there were shoes. And I was like, whoa. And the woman dressed me to the nines. And then we got everything tailored and tweaked. So there are some things that she put together that I was like, oh, okay, these textures with this texture and these patterns with this pattern, but everything worked. I looked great in the movie. So, and then working with Jennifer and with Leah Remini and Milo Ventimiglia, like all these people that I had been watching over the course of my life, I'm shoulder to shoulder with. When I was watching what was I watching? Wait, let me get it right. I was watching, we'll say a talk show, morning talk show, and she was the guest on there. And I remember after the interview, I was like, wow, she's a really nice lady. I wonder what it would be to work with her.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was only a couple of weeks later that then I booked Second Act and I was like, listen,
Universe.
I very much believe in speak those things as though they are. And listen, let's say it. Let's just put it out there and see how the universe responds.
Well, the first time I saw you on a talk show was for Second Act, and you were on Watch What Happens Live with Jennifer Lopez.
Yes,
And because Andy Cohen, shout out to Andy, he's on Sirius XM too. He has like the bartender section,
yes.
and you were there, and you were telling Andy Cohen how to pronounce your name. So that's when I first saw
Oh,
you.
wow. Oh, that's so cool.
So,
Yeah, I got to be careful, like how much whiskey I have on when I'm on, because then I get a little bit more assertive. But he was a great sport about it, and he was really lovely, and it was a great experience. We weren't expecting to be on because we were supporting roles, but they
yeah.
both asked for us to be there, so that was very cool and generous of them.
So listen, I always ask actors, especially actors on the rise, what's a good audition? How do you nail a good, what tips do you have how to nail an audition?
Do your research. If there's research to be done about the world that you're living in, be prepared. I mean, for me, it's hard to memorize lines. So that's the difference in TV and film versus stage. Like for stage stuff, you at least have a week maybe to get everything prepared. For for film and television, sometimes you have a day and it's like 17 pages of lines. And especially if it's a procedural, then it's a lot of legalese or it's a lot of scientific stuff. And you have to say it then. Well, and then you just fake it till you make it. You know, if it's not really coming off of the tip of the tongue, then try to be as familiar with your script as possible. And then just go in and have a good time. And that's the hard part because the majority of my career, it's been I got to pay my bills or I got to pay my rent or I really need these health insurance weeks. So there was a desperation that kind of preceded me. But now that I'm on the other side of that, I can kind of relax a little bit better because my bills are getting paid, because I have health insurance. But for me, if it was something that I really wanted to go for, I was unapologetic in the way that I then presented everything because I was prepared. So preparation is definitely the key to nailing an audition, and it doesn't always go well, but they also want to see you and see how it is to work with you. And if you're in there and you're committed to what you're doing and you give it the old college try, there are times where you will get hired because they see that you are malleable, that you are able to take this big chunk of things and do it to the best of your ability.
So let me ask you this. So when we think about when Night Court originally airs from
Hmm.
'84 to 1992, right? Much different, much different landscape of television. Just thinking about the amount of, channels we had back then. And also much different access for black people, black women especially. I mean, my
Hmm.
gosh, if we think about the mid 80s, and Marsha Warfield joins Night Court, I think, in season 5, I believe.
Yeah, it
So,
was
I mean,
later because
it was
there were
later.
two older bailiffs that were there before, and unfortunately, we lost both of them at the ends of their seasons. Richard Mole joined season 3, and yes, Marsha
Yeah.
Warfield was 4 or 5 or maybe 3.
But when I'm thinking of black women on sitcoms outside of the Cosby Show and outside of Different World, of course, shout out
Hmm.
to that legacy, there was
Yeah.
there was just so few. So I'm just curious to you, just being reflective on back when this show starts to where we are now. Uh, what has been your experience? Do you feel like it's so much easier? According to what you've heard, have some things just remained the same? What are your
Hmm.
thoughts on this progress, quote unquote?
I think it's a little bit of both. And I think that's why I love Gerg so much is that
Mm,
she's different than your typical big black woman comedic role. And
mm.
but still very much the same. Like there's still something to be said about the timing of it all. And but what I love about Night Court is that on top of the comedy, you also have some beautiful tender moments. Like you were talking about the episode where Roz talks about diabetes. That's one of the stories that John would talk about. And that was an episode where they really got to bond. But once we started doing reboots and reboots were very popular, I was like, ooh, I hope they do a Give Me a Break
Nell
reboot, and I
Carter.
hope that I hope that I'm in a point in my career where I can get an appointment for that. And that's what I had set my sights on, not realizing that what was for me was something that was going to stand on its own. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful again, it goes back to preparation. I'm grateful that I worked hard and that, not everybody has to go to grad school. You don't have to do it that way, but some kind of training, even if you're taking courses through Actors Connection or courses in your local town, just so that you can be prepared and be comfortable on set at some point. I don't know that I would have had this opportunity had it not been for Nell Carter, had it not been for Jennifer Holliday, had it not been for Marsha Warfield, had it not even been for Hattie McDaniel.
Hmm.
We sometimes we just have to get in there with our elbows and make a carve a niche for ourselves because as Black women, as dark-skinned Black women, as full-figured dark-skinned Black women, we our seat is not necessarily at the table, so we have to build the seat first. We got to chop down the trees. We got to find the materials that can keep it together, and then just drag that drag that chair up to the table and take a seat because we deserve to be there.
Wait, speaking of Give Me a Break, Lacretta, I don't know if that could happen today. I think that role would be too controversial unless
I
they
think the
changed it a
role.
lot.
I agree. I agree. But I also have to acknowledge that my mother was a nanny. And I consider the people that we took care of, my god brother and my god sister. People are still nannies. They call them au pairs. That still
Right.
happens. And I didn't watch the entire season of Give Me a Break to know exactly what that situation was. Um, but we would like to see it in a different way. Like these are things that are still happening, but I think that it can be talked about in a different way. The project that I worked on for FX was very much that same situation. And the writer for that project had based my character on his current nanny.
Hmm.
What we don't often talk about with those situations is how much of a family this can become. And so I would like to see that. But do we necessarily need to have a nanny show? No, not really. Not really.
Well, thankfully we have you
Yeah.
in night court and all that good stuff. So that's great.
Yeah.
What are some of your professional goals moving? Well, hold on one second. First of all, you said opera. I don't want to
Yeah.
forget this. I'm assuming if you know opera, you know the legendary Leontine Price.
Oh my God, yes.
I mean, one of my dreams is to interview her before she transitions. I've been trying for
Mhm.
years. I mean,
Mhm,
Leontine
mhm.
Price once said, and I love this quote. She said, "I am here, and you will know that I am the best." I said, "Come
Okay.
on, Miss Leontine, come on." So, do you see yourself venturing in opera again? And if not,
Mm,
what are your
I,
professional goals?
I think if I did do opera again, I'd have to come back as a tenor. I don't have what I used to have, and I don't know how long it would take to get that back. But what I do see myself doing is maybe a biopic of oh, I mean, now my brain is just being flooded about all the greats and all the people that I've watched.
Jesse Norman.
Or
Uh,
uh
yeah.
Kathleen Battle.
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness, I feel terrible. I'm on the spot and now I'm getting shy.
Oh, it's
I can't
okay.
think of anybody's name.
It's
But of all
okay.
the like, I would love a biopic about them, or even a televised live musical thing. I would love to be a part of. I am a huge fan of video games. I would love to voice a video game character. What else? What else? I want to do a line of perfumes. I want to do a line of whiskeys. I want to do everything I possibly can. Candles, clothing, like whatever I can get my hands into. Because this sometimes our business can be so fleeting. So you want to have your hands in a lot of different things. I'm from Kansas City. So the Chiefs, my godmother was telling me about how Patrick Mahomes has a restaurant that he's a part of and is bringing Wahlburgers to Kansas City. And I think it's very smart to have some investments on your side and have some things that can
Right.
generate some income. God forbid anything happens, like you get run over by a snowplow, or something
God
else,
forbid. Yeah.
trip down the stairs. You want to be able to have something that will be able to take care of you in the future.
Okay. Before you go, this is
Okay.
too on the spot. If you can't, I totally get it.
Oh Lord.
You want to give us a little opera note? Just singing Night Court? Just sing Night Court in an opera kind of note? I don't know. Is that too
No,
much?
it's too much. It's too early. It is 8:34 in the morning, Clay. I am not trying to give you a little salt. No, I'm not trying to do it.
You did it. I
I
know.
did. I did.
And I have friends who are singers. They're like, don't ask me to sing on the spot. Like
No,
this is
no, because then I won't remember any words. I won't remember anything.
you did it though. You
I
did it.
did.
Yo, I gotta tell you, I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
I'm so happy for Night Court. I want to encourage us to make sure we support. Shout out to John Larroquette, who's
Yes.
who's in Night Court. He was in the original Night Court, and I'm happy for you. And it's always
Thank
great
you so much.
who you've seen there, and then boom, you're on an NBC sitcom. So this is great. This is phenomenal. So again, I want y'all to support Night Court and make sure you stream it, or you can watch it live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on NBC. If you missed it live, you can watch it on Peacock, and you got to make sure you support.